Alright. Just randomly blabbing about stuff that doesn't matter. Things I remember that younger people probably wouldn't. And actually, I remember some stuff that, well, crazy as it sounds, I have some like past life memories too, but maybe I shouldn't even go into that. I'll talk about this life. But things that I remember. Of course, I grew up, the house I grew up in, man, we had like a lot of old tech around, that was behind its time. So like a lot of the ways that I grew up was more like I grew up in the fucking 60s or 70s. Even though I grew up in like 80s, 90s, 2000s, we had the old TVs with the rabbit ears, no remote control. You know, our big TV was the one in the living room. It was probably like 22-inch screen with the wood box around it, and you have to get up and turn the knob and adjust things. We had it hooked up to the antenna. We had a big, huge antenna strapped to the side of the house. You have to, well, actually, originally it was up on the roof, and you have to go up on the roof. They'd send me to go up on the roof to turn the thing, and then they'd have somebody in the living room, and then somebody outside. They'd yell from the living room to the person outside, and then like my mom would watch the TV or my dad would watch the TV, and then the other one would be outside and would yell up to me like, "Yeah, a little more," and you'd turn the antenna to try to get a picture, because with that TV we get more channels, but you just have to go turn the antenna because it had this gigantic antenna, right? And you had other TVs in the house with just like rabbit ears. You have the rabbit ears with the 10-foot aluminum foil wrapped around them and shit, to try to get a better signal. And we had fucking rotary phones, dude. We had rotary phones. Most people probably haven't even seen rotary phones. A lot of younger people haven't even seen rotary phones. I certainly never used them. I used to use a rotary phone. You know? You know? I wonder if those things would even work, because it was like before the. No, it was. I don't remember what age I was when it came to a point where the see, the dial tone changed. It used to be like a different sort of a dial tone. It's it's strange to explain. This is before the internet even like fucking existed, like when I was real young, right? Or, you know, for all intents and purposes, anyways. And like, if anybody did have a cell phone, it was rich people, and they were huge. The ones that actually got decent service would be like a sat phone or some shit. It'd be like a big boxy thing with a phone that would come out of it. You know, huge. And like the regular cell phones when they came out were like pretty big. You know, pretty big things you'd flip open and just like a big walkie-talkie or something, kind of. But like nobody had them. There were payphones everywhere. There were ashtrays everywhere. You could smoke. Actually, dude, I still remember even when I was, smoking already. I could walk into a grocery store, smoke, and pick out my groceries while I was like smoking a cigarette or a cigar. I smoked a cigar in church at one point, I think. Yeah, I believe I did. You can. There used to be an ashtray like everywhere. You can still see some stuff, some traces of that, remnants every now and then. Like, for instance, out front of a 7-Eleven here, they got the garbage can, and the top of the garbage can has like an ashtray built into it, right? Well, it used to be like that with every garbage can had an ashtray built into the top of it, and there were ashtrays just like sitting along, spaced every like 100 or a couple 100 feet or something. There'd be another ashtray. There was ashtrays out front of basically every storefront. But you could walk in. There were ashtrays inside the shopping malls and shit, you know. Along the way as you're walking through the mall, there'd be like ashtrays every so often, you know, along with garbage cans and stuff. Yeah. When when it got to a certain time of night, man, the TV would shut off and you would just have this like beep. This concludes our daily scheduled programming or whatever. Beep. And then they have these like colored bars across the screen and maybe like a company logo or something. NBC or whatever, you know. And it would just be that all night long, would just be these bars and just beep, you know. And in the bathroom, we had this little bitty, like black and white TV with rabbit ears, you know. It got like one or two channels. Yeah. Did you know that aluminum cans used to be like way more heavy duty? Like there was a time when like a soda can or a beer can was like almost as heavy duty as like a can of beans or a can of corn or something. And the tab on top was like this, it was different. It was like this pull tab thing. Yeah, it was way more heavy duty. Try crushing that so fucking easy, dude. Dare you. And the glass bottles, man, were way more heavy duty too. And you know, damn near everything was in glass bottles, you know. And they started using plastic. The plastic was way more heavy duty too, you know. You could bonk somebody over the head with a plastic bottle. You're like, ow, you know. Way thicker plastic, you know, heavy duty shit. Like everything was better. The music was better. The fucking movies were better. The art was better. The architecture was better. The laws, for the most part, in a lot of ways, were better. The fucking cops were better. They were cool. Dude, used to say to protect and serve on the side of their fucking cars, and you know what? For the most part, in large part, they fucking meant it. You know? Officer friendly was kind of a real thing, sort of. I'm not saying it was like that everywhere or all the time, and that there weren't abusive dickheads in the fucking law enforcement even back then, of course, but yeah, there was, but there was a lot more good guys, you know. And I mean, you could get pulled over with a fucking beer, and they just say, you know, hey, you drive straight home now, you know. Pour it, or they'd pour it out, you know. If you're really fucked up, pour it out, make you pour it out, and they'd say, now you go straight home now. I don't want to see you out on the road again tonight, you know. They wouldn't fucking fuck your whole life over. And even if you did get a fucking DUI, it's like a slap on the wrist, you know. You have to pay like $100 fine or maybe 150 or something. Sit through like a half-hour long video, watch a bunch of people get mutilated in car accidents and shit. That was it, you know. You'd get fucked with as much if you were out hunting or fishing or something. Way cheaper for the licensing, and you could probably get away with even doing it without the licensing a lot more, you know. You could leave your doors unlocked. Kids would could go hang out with other kids and just could ride their bikes down the street. They could walk miles away from the house by themselves and be perfectly fine. I mean, I don't think it was ever a good idea to leave your doors unlocked, but you totally could. You go to sleep in your house and leave all the doors to your house fucking unlocked, you know, and you most likely were just gonna, it was fine, you know, because nobody was gonna steal shit. People drove around the town I grew up in, man, with fucking rifles and shotguns and shit and a gun rack in their back window of their pickup truck, and they'd park their truck and leave their keys in the fucking truck, their windows rolled down, and walk into the fucking store. You know, they'd have a fucking like 357 or a 45 up sitting on the fucking dash or on the seat or something, and a rifle and a shotgun in the gun rack behind, in the window. They'd leave their pickup truck just parked there with windows rolled down and the keys in the ignition. They'd walk in the fucking store for spend 10 minutes in there not paying any attention, walk back out. Nobody fucked with their shit because, it just wasn't like that back then. It wasn't so screwed up like it is now. And like when I was a teenager and stuff, man, in my 20s, man, if you saw somebody with like dyed hair or something, nowadays if you see that with the dyed hair and the weird clothes and stuff, it usually means that they're like left wing communist, weirdo freak or whatever, right? Back then it meant that they're like a rocker, and they were fucking cool. Now you see some people dressed the same as like what used to be like the cool people, and they're the weird motherfuckers now. If there was like a party going on, basically, if you were walking down the street and you saw like people partying somewhere, you heard bumping music and see a bunch of people, partying or whatever, you could just walk right up and knock on the door and say, "Hey, man, what's up? The party going on?" And they say, "Come on in, man." You know, you could make friends like that in the blink of an eye. You could talk I could talk to a girl, just bump into some girl on the sidewalk or at the store, talk to them for a couple of minutes and fucking have their number. You know, it was so much fucking. It was so different. Like dating was so much different too. It's like people weren't so afraid of each other and so distrusting, and you just make friends and form relationships almost in the blink of an eye. It was almost more like, I don't even know if it's the same for little kids anymore as it used to be. I could talk about what it was like as a little kid. When you're like a little kid, at least it might not even be that way for kids anymore. This weird awkwardness and fucking distancing and all this bullshit may have actually spread out so much that even little fucking toddlers can't make friends anymore. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me that much because this world has become so fucking weird, man. I'm talking about how, like, when I was a kid, right? Like a toddler, preschool, whatever, kindergarten, etc. You just, like, you just meet some kids, say, "Hi, what's your name?" You like trucks? I like trucks too. Want to be my friend? Okay, you're my best friend now, And then you'd have friends that last all the way through school, basically. These kids, like, just bumped into each other one day. Want to be my, that was it. And it was like that to some extent all the way up until like teenage and even early 20s to some extent, it seemed like, in the early days before everything fucking changed. And you could meet girls like that too. Hey, you want to be my girlfriend? Yeah. That was it. It was that simple. It was not all the fucking bullshit that's involved now, If I want to get a girlfriend or something, like when the internet did come out, it made it so much easier. Back then it did. They could just go in a Yahoo chat or something. There were like local chat rooms that didn't require any sort of identification or any kind of bullshit, and there weren't I'm talking pre-bots, before the bots came and fucked everything up, right? You could just go into a chat room and there'd be like a bunch of people locally, and you could just spark up a conversation and wouldn't take but like 20 minutes or something. I could have some girl's phone number and be, you know, hooking up, meeting with him and stuff. You know, it, it was just whole other fucking world, man. Whole other world. Yeah, we had fucking cool toys too. I mean, okay, the kids have cool toys now. That has been fixed. That was one of the fucked up Mandela effects at first, but they fixed that. Now the kids, now I would almost argue that the kids' toys now are in some ways cooler than ours, but you know, they might even be like as cool or cooler than the shit in the '60s now. But like that was only just recently addressed and fixed, you know, because they don't any. I mean, and their cartoons suck now too, man. Compared to the shit we had. We had fucking Saturday morning cartoons. You remember Saturday morning cartoons? I would get up like early, so I could watch Alf, because Alf came on before the cartoons. Or watch Alf, then I'd watch the Saturday morning cartoons. Watch fucking Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles and, you know, Transformers and so on and so forth, you know. Bunch of stuff, man. And then later on, you know, I watched there's like a Batman one, and there's obviously, you know, X-Men. That is a fucking great cartoon there, man. That's actually better than all the X-Men movies. Like if you like the X-Men movies and you haven't seen the X-Men cartoon, then I'm telling you, the cartoon, the original X-Men cartoon was better than the movies, like way better. In fact, most of the movies are based on, you know, like loosely based on them and don't really do them justice, you know. I know. Originally it comes from comics, I get it, you know, but they dun 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 dun, you know. Right? Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. You know, Michelangelo is cool. You know, and show Michelangelo like skateboarding through a sewer tunnel and shit. Fuck. I miss that, man. That's the fucking best days I can recall, man. Just the way things used to be. So much different. So much different, man. Yeah, I drove around by myself from the age of 15 to the age of like 19 on a learner's permit, before I ever even got my driver's license. Never had any trouble over it, you know? Used to have some real fun, man. Go down to the river, go swimming, go hiking in the woods. Of course, I smoked when I was a teenager, man, and teenage and early 20s, man. Smoked a lot of fucking weed, pill popping, all kinds of stupid shit. That wasn't a good idea, but did actually have some fun, though. Honestly, I think that was better than the damn drinking. Although, not that there wasn't drinking sometimes involved back then, too. Because some of the people I hung out with were in their 20s. or able to pass for being in their 20s at least. Send this dude Mitch in to get fucking booze. I'd tell him what I wanted. He'd come out with like a bunch of weird shit. Like, God damn it, you're supposed to get this. Like, I wanted to try it. He'd just take my money and walk. He came out with like some weird vanilla flavored vodka and like spiced rum and fucking gin one time when I I don't remember what I told him to get exactly, but not that, definitely. It was fucking all basically horrible, you know. Drank it anyways. The gin stuff is like I remember this old Avon, is a certain Avon cologne. My mom used to do Avon, you know. I actually have I don't remember how many bottles I have, but I have a fair amount of like Avon cologne bottles that I picked up at a yard sale. Just with still full of cologne, you know. I've sold some of them. I was gonna keep the one that's shaped like a gun, but this dude offered me money for it, so I took it, you know. And I've given away some of them, like, you know, gifts and stuff. Still got a fair number of those. But like, yeah, things were fucking way different, man. Way different. I mean, the stock. And if you look back even further, man, I mean, this, in a lot of ways, I don't know, I gotta say, like, probably, like, the 80s and 90s were probably, like, the last, it was like the end of the good times. It was like the peak. And then we reached the peak, the precipice of what we could be as a civilization and how good things could get. And then it's just been all going fucking downhill ever since then. And we're getting to a point where it's like getting worse than it's ever been. But people are so stupid and like, it's like, oh, but we have technology, so it's so much better now. Look, we can order food on our phone. That means it's better. No, it isn't. It fucking sucks now. It's fucking horrible now. Everything, like every aspect of our lives sucks, like way, way fucking more than it did back then. I wish the fuck the internet had never been invented and that cell phones had never been invented and so on. Maybe we could have held on to some little bit of sanity, some bit of decency, something cool could have held on, you know? Remember MTV? Fucking like, what was it? God dang it. Headbangers Ball and shit. Pauly Shore and fucking. Oh, man. Kurt Loder. You remember fucking Craig the Dog-Faced Boy 101.1 KUFO? Okay, I guess I'm showing where I come from. Yeah. Remember drive-in movie theaters? Fucking skating rinks and arcades? Remember an arcade machine in every fucking store? And a phone that you could use just by pumping some quarters into it everywhere you go? You know? Phone booths everywhere. I even learned about like phone freaking and shit. You could play DTMF tones, like record the tones, right, that the quarters make, and play them back with a tape recorder, right? Back, or you know, and you could do the same with like a phone number. You wouldn't have to even push the buttons. You could just play the phone number, beep 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 beep, beep, you know, and it would dial. I'm trying to remember, is that like a red box or a blue box? The tones, man. Anyways, yeah, things were fucking very different. Everything was better, man. Everything was fucking better. Everything was better. I don't mean some things were better. I mean damn near everything was better. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool that we have YouTube now and all these videos and movies we can see and so on and so forth. But at what cost, man? Remember going into the video store? Anybody? You know? I don't know. How many of you remember going to the drive-in? How fucking special and cool that fucking was. You know? Or remember going to the video store? To like Hollywood Video or Blockbuster or whatever? And like renting some movies or renting a game or something, you know? And you'd go in there and you'd like, you say you go in there with your family and you'd be looking around, you'd pick some movies out and you'd all sit together in the living room and you'd sit there and watch the movies or comedy specials or something together, and you'd get a pizza and you'd heat up some popcorn, and it was like this whole thing, you know? You'd sit around as a family and have something. It was like a special thing, you know? And now everything's one click away, and it takes all the specialness out of it, you know? Too much of a good thing isn't so good, you know? It's like, God. I mean, do people hardly ever even go to the movies anymore? I don't know. I don't hardly ever go to the movies, I guess, but that's because it's like, I mean, a lot of the movies nowadays suck, for one thing. Not all of them, but like most of them, you know? And that's usually the shit that they pick to play, you know? The theaters. It's like almost nobody has any new ideas for anything anymore. Having to rehash all the fucking movies that were cool back in the day so they can ruin them, you know? Rehash all the old TV series that kicked ass back in the day so they can ruin those. Like nothing original. It's like they ran out of fucking ideas for everything because it's all been fucking done. But it's all been done just in the last like 40 fucking years or something, or 40, 50 years, you know? All been done. Everything cool that could be done was already done, you know? All the stories that could be told, all the great writers, all the great poets, all the great artists, all the great architects, everyone's fucking, you know, old as shit or dead or sold their company to Disney or some shit, you know? Everything fucking like sucks now, you know? And it's ridiculous. And like the houses, you know? Housing so ridiculously overpriced, only rich people can afford to have a fucking roof over their head. And then if you look in the cities where they're building all these houses and apartment complexes, it reminds me of this fucking, you know, the song from that show Weeds, you know? Little boxes on the hillside, and they're all made out of ticky, you know? Every house is all the same or something. Like, they all look the same. I see you go drive past these neighborhoods, it's like, holy shit. Like, every house is, like, exactly the same. Every apartment complex is exactly the same. Every business building is exactly the same. It's just like, it's like we're headed towards this, like, It world or something from, God damn it. Fuck is that movie? The Tesseract and all that shit. I keep brain farting that movie, man. The It Force, you know. God damn it. Why do I always brain fart that? I don't know. It's, you know, Charles Wallace and Mrs. Who's It and Mrs. What's It and fucking Not not the Oprah version, the like '90s version. I couldn't even watch. I started to watch the Oprah version, and then they started playing rap music, and I was like, nope. I just turned it the fuck off. Like, no, can't do it. Sorry. Oh, God. We reached like a peak, you know. That's what I'm saying. It's like we reached a peak as a civilization, the peak of everything, the best of everything, and then it all just went downhill. And people were bought with stupid little devices, little pocket computers with little games and gadgets or something to distract us, and we gave up our real friendships and relationships for clicks on a fucking for likes and clicks and shit on some app where we have our fake friends and our you know people that we don't even fucking hang out with or know, you know. Like shit, man. We miss the old world, the way things used to be, you know. In that world, I think I would do pretty well. I wasn't made for this world, this world that's so different from what I recall from everything that I was born and bred and raised to fucking be, you know. It's all gone and now there's this whole other planet here basically where everything is backwards and upside down and I don't fit in here, you know. You know, I've got more fucking movies and music and than you could possibly imagine. Like I'm talking every format. I've got shitloads of VHS, DVD. Okay, not every format. I've got shitloads of VHS, DVD, as well as like files, movies, and I've got shitloads of music and MP3, as well as like duffel bags and CD cases and just shitloads of CDs and oh yeah, fuckloads of CDs and just massive amounts of cassette tapes. You know, excellent fucking collection of like rock music and fucking country music and but like you know stuff that I wish I had as a kid. And shitloads of video game stuff and everything. But it's like you got a projector and all these movies and like I would have been the coolest fucking kid in the world if I had this shit when I was a kid if I had all this stuff, man, that I have now. Like everyone would have wanted to be at my house all the time basically. But it's like none of it fucking matters, you know. Nothing, you know, because the whole world is like gone, man. Everything good about the world seems to have been pissed away, and it's like we're living in some kind of fucked up artificial construct now. It makes me sad. You know, it's weird too, like in terms of like relationship sort of stuff, man. Like when I was younger, like even up into my mid to late 20s, the world was still so much different even back then that like for me to make friends was easy. To get a girlfriend was still easy. everything changed around the same time that like the smartphone started becoming a thing, and the social media switched from like MySpace to Facebook, and things started to change. And it was around then, and like Craigslist changed, and I don't know, a number of things changed. I don't remember exactly when it was, maybe 2008. I think that's around when the Mandela effect shit started for me, when I started to really notice changes. And ever since then, the changes, like endless amounts of changes, have just like turned me into a recluse. And all the, ability to form relationships, friendships, and love, and so on and so forth for me is just seemed to have disappeared, along with everything else in the world that was fucking good, basically. Now I just watch, I can sit back and I can watch old movies, listen to old music. I can look at pictures and old videos of the way things used to be and reminisce. Fucking nostalgia. But it's all just like an echo of a fucking distant past that's gone and I can't get back. And there's also like something that you just notice if you were around back in the day, and like versus today, and you hung out, you're, teenager, younger, whatever, in the days that I grew up, man, especially. And man, I can't imagine how the fucking older generations who had it even fucking better than I fucking did, how they could possibly not notice this shit and be absolutely infuriated by it, but seem to be in like a zombified state or something. Things, the freedom, just the inherent freedom that you had, and the truth that was available to you, and the, friendships and relationships, and the way everything was better. The fucking food was better. Dude, if any food item you look at in the store today, right? If you went back in time and tried to get the same thing, what you're gonna get is something that is way, way fucking better than it back then than it is now. Peanut butter cups used to be huge compared, like Reese's peanut butter cups, tasted better and were way bigger. Every candy bar you can imagine tasted better and was way bigger. Yeah, buy a pizza at the store or something. Certain brand of pizza. If you get something that used to exist back then, it was bigger, it was better, it was tastier, the ingredients were better, like everything. Everything. Like if you go to a fucking restaurant, go to McDonald's, Carl's Jr., Burger King, get whatever the fuck you want there. I guarantee you, a KFC, whatever the fuck, anywhere you want to go. The food back then was better than it is now. The drinks were better. The soda was better. Everything was fucking better, dude. Everything was better. And it was way cheaper too. Everything was way cheaper too. Housing was super affordable. You didn't hardly see any homeless people like anywhere because they didn't fucking exist. Because people could afford to live. I don't know. I just sick of this shit, man.